Hello again. Let's start over again. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Tanya Weigold. And so, I just wanted to give you a little bit of history of the program. So, LTAP was started in 2021 and first administered in, uh, 2001, first administered in 2002. So, it has been around for 20 years now, which is pretty exciting. Or it is not working. So if as we're talking today and going through the regulations, if you would like to view them yourself, they are located on our website. All the information that we'll present today and all the information that we send to you via emails, such as our memos and press releases, are on our website for institutions and educators. You would scroll down to the tab that says state scholarships and policies. And so here's where our regulations are located, along with our legislation, and then other policies. And then down here in related trainings is where we will post all of the workshops once we have completed them. Okay, so if you attended Dr. Hampton's workshop last week with Hope in Life, there are some sections in each of our regulations that pertain to all of our state scholarship and grant programs. So we're going to go through a few of those for those that didn't attend last week, and then we'll move more into more specifics with the lottery tuition program. So general definitions, which is on my left side of the screen, has where these definitions are located in the regulations, but we discuss academic year. So academic year for all of our state scholarship and grant programs is that fall, spring, and succeeding summer terms. So financial aid awarding language, one of the things that's in the regulations is that we indicate that institutions are prohibited from using state scholarship and grants in programs that promote financial aid incentives or packages. So any mention of state scholarships or grants in the packages should indicate that they're separate from the institution and they're provided by the state of South Carolina. So Act 280 is important for all of our state scholarship and grants, and that just says all eligible independent and public institutions that participate in the program must verify the lawful presence of any student who receives a state scholarship or grant prior to awarding the student. The trustees of the public and independent institutions in the state shall develop and institute a process by which the state scholarship or grant recipient's lawful presence in the U.S. is verified with the federal government. The lawful presence as defined as an individual who is in the U.S. legally and documented. Only those students whose lawful presence has been verified with the federal government prior to college enrollment will be considered to receive any state scholarship or grant. So the biggest thing here is in our regulations, it indicates that you are responsible. Your institution is responsible for verifying South Carolina residency and lawful presence. If it's determined that the institution has failed to verify this information, the institution shall immediately reimburse those funds to CHE. And this is usually this is usually found in our auditing when our auditors go out. If they find that SC residency or lawful presence wasn't verified, they would ask for returns of funds. So we do ask each institution to provide someone a name of a person at your institution who is responsible for administering this program. So recently your institution should have received an email from me just asking who the contact is for your various programs. That's important, one, for us at CHE to know who to call when we have questions, and then two, who we can direct students and families to when they have questions. Program administration and audits A just says South Carolina Commission of Higher Education is responsible for the oversight of all of these programs. So CHE shall be responsible for the allocation of funds, promulgation of all the regulations and guidance for the programs, and then audits and oversights as we deem necessary to make sure the expenditures of funds is being used appropriately. A program administration and audits. B just says that according to our audit policies and procedures for the state scholarships and grants, All eligible, independent, and public institutions must abide by the policies. Just so institutions shall agree to maintain and provide all pertinent information, records, reports, and any information as may be required or requested by CHE. So those records that our auditors are looking at when they go out, some of them are just the award notification, enrollment status and degree seeking, students' residency, have they completed an affidavit saying they don't owe a refund, not convicted of any felonies, which is not applicable for the LTAP program, but for all of our other programs it is. Institutional disbursements to the student, any military orders if that's applicable, verification if they have documented disabilities and they're receiving an approved reduced course load. You're keeping record of their GPA and annual credit hours for our scholarship programs, and you're verifying academic departments of enrollment if they're in an enhancement program, and then you're maintaining records of that 14 credit hours for enhancement purposes if those are applicable to our scholarship programs. Okay, so we are going to move into military mobilization. So military mobilization is located in 3 out of our 4 programs, but what A indicates is that service members who are enrolled in college and are affected by military mobilization will not be penalized for the term they are required to withdraw after the full refund period based on the institutional policies and procedures. Institutions are strongly encouraged to provide a full refund of required tuition, fees, and other institutional charges, or to provide a credit in a comparable amount against future charges for students who are forced to withdraw as a result of military mobilization. And we ask those students, if they are on military mobilization, to provide a copy of their orders or their DD-214 to your office so that you have that for your records, so that you have the date that they are and we include basic training as part of military mobilization. So they just need to get those dates to you in an official document. And then last but not least, when we talk about regulations that apply to all scholarships, is just the suspension or termination of institutional participation. And so there's A, B, and C. A indicates that CHE is going to review and determine compliance. If institution has failed to comply, CHE may terminate or suspend or place conditions upon the institution regarding their scholarships. B says that upon receipt of evidence the institution has failed to comply, CHE shall notify the institution in writing of the nature and allegations and conduct an audit. And then C says an audit indicates that a violation may have occurred or is occurring. And then CHE shall secure immediate reimbursement from the institution in the event that any funds were expended out of compliance. We do have our auditors on today, but they will be in touch with you at some point over the next few years as they go through their audits of each institution. Okay, so let's talk specifically about the Lottery Tuition Assistance Program. So 1, in order for a student to be eligible, they need to complete the FAFSA or a FAFSA waiver. College may waive the FAFSA requirement when the student is in high school and participating in dual enrollment, or the student has already earned a bachelor's degree, or the student is enrolled in a program that is not eligible for federal funds, or the dependent student is not able to obtain his or her parents, guardians, and or spouse's tax forms. We do ask that the FAFSA waiver is collected each year. This question was asked a few times this year regarding dual enrollment students, and we do need for your records that you have a FAFSA waiver signed each year. So 2, a student needs to be a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. They need to qualify for in-state tuition and be a resident of South Carolina. They need to be enrolled in at least part-time in a diploma, certificate, or an associate's degree program at an eligible institution. They need to be making SAP as provided by Title IV regulations. They need to be enrolled or have completed at the time of fund disbursement a minimum of 6 credit hours at their home institution. They need to be verified that they are not in default or do not owe a refund or repayment on any federal or state aid. And last but not least, they should not be a recipient of the Hope, Life, or Palmetto Fellows during an academic year. So students can receive LTAP towards a certificate, diploma, or degree, but they can't receive LTAP again within a 5-year period unless that additional certificate, diploma, or degree constitute progress in that same field of study. Students may not receive LTAP at more than one institution during the same semester. And then this is a big one. So students who are only degree seeking shall receive LTAP at their home's institution. Transient students shall not receive lottery tuition assistance. So we see on occasion our Hope or Life students will take courses at their local technical college to regain eligibility for their state scholarship. But as I mentioned previously, they can't be a recipient of another state scholarship and receive LTAP in the same academic year. So if they're a transient student and or have received a state scholarship, they cannot receive LTAP. So there is one exception to that rule, and that is students who are incoming freshmen or incoming students who are life eligible. So first time entering freshmen who have met the eligibility requirements for life, but need some remedial coursework. So these students are enrolled in less than 12 credit hours of non-remedial and are taking a minimum of 6 credit hours of remedial. If that student is, again, in 12 credit hours of non-remedial, less than 12 credit hours of non-remedial, they can receive LTAP for up to a year at your institution. And this delays their initial college enrollment of life. Once this student enrolls in 12 credit hours or more of non-remedial, so let's say they're in 6 remedial and 12 credit hours, so they're taking a heavy course load, but they have that 12 credit hours of non-remedial, they no longer are eligible for LTAP and they start receiving the life scholarship and they start their terms of eligibility. So institutional disbursement of funds. Actual award amounts are dependent upon the number of eligible students and the amount of funding available each academic year. As you know, we try our best to get the information out. CHE works with the State Tech Board to figure out how many anticipated students are enrolled in the program versus how much funding we have. And we try to give you a number that you can use all year long. Currently, that is $80 per credit hour, up to 12 credit hours. Lottery tuition assistance may not exceed the cost of in-state tuition. In calculating the award amount in LTAP, all federal grants and need-based grants must be awarded first in determining the amount of eligible LTAP to be used. So what does that look like? Oh my goodness. What does that look like? So if you've been to any of Catherine Harris's workshops regarding Palmetto Fellows, this is her slide that I wanted to share. So first you are calculating the need-based aid. So that's the federal Pell and then federal work study and then need-based grant. And then you're determining the non-need-based aid, which would be LTAP. And then later, if applicable, Palmetto Fellows and or WINS. Each year, a student, again, needs to file the FAFSA or a FAFSA waiver. They need to meet the eligibility requirements of that we discussed earlier, and they need to be making SAP. So the law indicates in 59-150-360, or F, in order for a student to be eligible after attempting 24 credit hours, the student must have earned an average of a 2.0 or better on a 4.0 scale. So they have to meet the FAFSA eligibility requirements, satisfactory academic progress, and if they have more than 24 hours, they also have to have a 2.0. Last but not least, students with documented disabilities. So if you have students that are registered with your Office of Disability or Accessibility Services, and it is determined that they can take less than 6 credit hours, and that's been approved, then they can receive lottery tuition assistance as long as you have that on file. Okay, and I know